Good morning, everybody. How is everyone doing on this Friday? This marvelous, marvelous Friday that is not really that sunny, but it's not snowing. So I'll take it.
Uh-huh.
Yeah, not snowing, so I'll take it.
I think it's supposed to get nice later, at least here.
Oh, that's good.
That's what Jay told me.
How are you today?
I'm very good this fine Friday morning.
Good.
I'm feeling good. I'm feeling like it's been a good week.
Yeah, it has
Kind
been
of-
a good week. I feel like this week went by really fast. Can you believe
really
that it's where did April even go?
I don't know. It's still like March 30th inside of my brain. So
I was actually looking back at the calendar this morning to when we went to Collingwood, which feels like 17 years ago.
Yes, it does.
But it was 6 weeks ago. So we have been quarantining for 6 weeks because we started then.
Yeah, we did.
We started on March 16. We started isolating, which was very interesting.
It feels like, I don't know about you and you guys, but it really, like, I'm like into the new normal now. It's really interesting. Like, I'm not feeling it the same way I was 2 weeks ago.
Agreed. I don't feel the emotional turmoil.
Nope.
It just is now.
Yeah,
it just is
normal.
Yeah, and it's interesting because I went for like a social distancing walk yesterday with my girlfriend and her 2 kids. Mm-hmm. And it's interesting how you just adapt, right? Mm-hmm. She went ahead with her 2 kids and I stayed back. And our kids know, like, when they were stopped, they rode their bikes. And when they stopped bike riding, her 2 kids stayed up ahead and my kids stayed back. And they knew not to interact with each other in that way. Like, they knew they had to keep their distance. It was very interesting just how we all just fell in line. Like,
we've had like a similar situation. Like, our street is a dead end and there's quite a few kids on it. My kids are just used to running out and playing and they all get together and have fun. And the last couple of weeks, it's been so interesting because they have just adapted to playing on opposite sides of the street. So it's a really quiet street. So they'll skip rope together, but the kids from across the road are on their side and my kids are on this side.
Yeah.
Or they'll scooter, but again, they're always on the opposite sides. They're like, look, we've got at least 6 feet between us. Like,
no
problem. Adapting.
Yep. Absolutely. Yeah. And Mike, same. Like, they'll even going for like walks, like Alexis will scooter with her friend and she'll go on the sidewalk and the friend will walk on the road.
Yeah.
And we didn't do that at first. We really kept distance for like a month. And then just this past week, I have to say that I think because of also the weather change this past week, that they've been more interactive with friends and I've even been more interactive with friends. And, you know, I understand the necessity of social distancing. Believe me, like, I've been to the grocery store 3 times in 6 weeks. Like, I get it.
Same.
We're absolutely abiding by it. But at the same time, you need connection. The kids need it. Like,
absolutely.
I can do without. The kids need it for their mental well-being. And so it's about figuring out ways to have them play. Like, we have the beanbag toss. So I've like literally measured on the driveway. Like, you stand over here and you stand over here and you guys can play, but you can't interact. And like, it's on the street. You go home to pee. You know, you don't come in my house to pee. You go home to pee. So it's been,
interesting. I just, you know what? It's cool how people can adapt and how relatively quickly that can happen.
Yeah.
Right? I think that's such a neat characteristic of like humanity. Oh, hi. Sorry.
Oh,
Messenger Kids is just taking over my phone. So
yes. All right. Well, let's get into it on this Friday. This is ending our week of marketing. And I think next week we're going to switch gears and do a subject that Laura doesn't love so much. Mindset and feelings. Mindset and feelings, because we've now taught you some things and now we want you to implement them, but there's going to be some blocks that are going to stop you from actually executing on this. And we want to talk to you about them next week. So next week is going to be about mindset shifts, so that you can go back and rewatch this content on Instagram. You can come into the Take Your Health Practice Online Facebook group and watch it, so that you can pair the strategies that we're going to give you mindset wise and confidence level wise, and actually execute on what we taught you this week. Some of you will be able to push through your own fear and self-judgment, and others won't. And so I think that's what we're going to do next week, because we can give you strategy after strategy after strategy, but if you don't believe that you have anything worthwhile to say, if you don't believe that people should pay attention to you, if you don't believe in your own ability to be successful, you're going to constantly create ways as to why this won't work for you, and you will constantly self-sabotage. So we're going to talk about that next week, but let's dive into today. So we're talking about the last two shifts that you need to make, which are stories over information and making it emotional, right? Those are shifts number 4 and 5. And we're doing them together because we want you to inject some level of emotion, and we'll go through examples of what emotion could be in a second, into your communication. And your communication predominantly should be stories. You know, the only time where you can use like straight up sales content, let's say, is when you are creating a high level of urgency because something is closing, right? Like last chance to get in on this thing now, cart's closing in an hour, right? Webinar starting 30 minutes. Like the difference, there's different sort of marketing communication for when you're getting closer and closer to a deadline of some sort. But your ongoing, let's call it ongoing organic communication. This is what we're talking about, using stories that are emotionally based to move people to that next stage of awareness.
And I think it's important to point this out too. If you're questioning this, right? If you're like, but I don't understand, or no, it doesn't feel right to me. Human beings are wired to respond to stories, right? Like that is before we had any sort of ways to record history, before we had any sort of way to pass down information, human beings pass down information via stories. And so our brain, because I like to go back to the science and the logic all the time. So if you're going, why? Our brain's literally wired through evolution to respond and store information given to us via stories, as opposed to facts and figures and reasons and logic. And if you even go back to being in like grade 8 or grade 9 and trying to remember things like, I don't know, like I'm such a geek and this is going to come through, like the periodic table or like calculations or anything you were supposed to remember for a test. If you were like me, your brain would automatically create a story around it, or like a rhyme or a song or something, because you are not wired to respond and remember logic. And so I think having that in the back of your head while you listen to this is going to be helpful.
Yes. And so let's just give some examples of brands that use stories. And actually, before we do that, we can do that. I was just trying to think of the way to explain it. So the way that old marketing, the old way, it's Friday. Can you tell?
No.
Can you tell in my brain that it's Friday?
Not at all.
The old way that we were taught to market was based on transactional information, right? Let me explain to you and use scientific references and educate you and speak at you and speak down to you as if I'm a professor and I am going to learn you. I am going to educate you, right? Like I'm going to learn you, right? Like that's like I am the all-knowing expert, which I also think is why you have that level of like imposter syndrome, because you are not the all-knowing expert.
Yeah.
Right. And so you know, 5 reasons why you're constipated, and here's you're constipated because you have leaky gut and your stomach lining is permeable, and then the thing gets in and with the white blood cells and the immune response and all like, and they're like, I'm sorry, I have holes in my stomach lining.
I didn't believe that.
What? No, my doctor would have told me that. I'm like, no. And then they go to the doctor and they're like, that person's a quack. You don't have that.
You don't have holes.
There's no holes in your stomach lining. You're not having an immune response. You just have IBS. So here, take this prescription. So, the way that we were taught before was very information based. And for a while that worked. Like it worked to a degree, but in this day and age, the old way of doing anything in business no longer serves. It no longer works. And so if we look at even the evolution of brands that we love, what makes you resonate with a brand? Why do you cry at commercials? Right? Why do you get excited? Why do you feel anything? It's because they're telling you a story to elicit a type of emotion that they want you to feel and then tie back to their brand. Yeah. Right? So if we look at like Airbnb, right? I went and did some research this morning. And if we think about Airbnb, right? They use individual customer experiences and they tell the story of why they wanted to go on this vacation and the like adventure or the romance or the solitude or the whatever experience. It's a feeling. Why do you go on vacation? Because you want to have a feeling. You want to have peace. You want to have adventure. They're feelings, Yes. You read the reviews to help you make the decision of which thing to purchase, but you're choosing first and foremost based on the feeling that you want to have, and then you're using the features to help you decide, right? So Airbnb individually picks customers and tells their individual stories based on these different feelings that they want to elicit in their prospects. Romance, like I said, romance, adventure, solitude, personal growth, personal development, environment, like whatever, right? Dating, like I've had experiences with these dating apps, right? And the dating, think about, you've obviously seen, what's the most popular one? Not Match, but the other one, where they use like the 100-word questionnaire thing. Anyway, whatever. Think of dating apps though. They tell the stories of these happy couples and they pick different styles of couples. They pick younger indie sort of metro couples and they tell the story of this like super trendy restaurant that they went to and this trendy things they did on their date to appeal to that ideal client. And they tell the story of their romance where they met. And then they pick an older couple who's, second marriage, and they show them like going for a walk and holding hands and him giving her a rose and like all of this stuff. And they tell the story of their love. They don't show the website and they're like, okay, this is our site. And so first you enter your name and then you do the questionnaire and then you're going to get 17 different options. And then we're going to swipe, whatever. You don't see that at all. You only see the stories of the happy people that make you feel hopeful that love is out there for you too. And it's very easy to find and blah, blah, blah.
Yes, totally.
Right? Like,
Uh-huh.
think of the brands that you like, and you can tell me back the story of the brand.
Yeah.
Right? I have told many stories. My entire book, this book, is filled with stories of my life to help you understand
Yes.
and take in the concepts that I'm teaching.
Yes.
Right?
Yep.
I'm sure if you've been in my world for any length of time, you could tell me the stories that I tell to get you to relate better to me and to know that I've been in your shoes. Right? The story of my no plan B commitment, May of 2011, the story of the time I spent the $20,000 on the mastermind, the story of the ex-business partner, right? Like, there's many, many different stories that we tell in order to have an emotional response, right? So just to illustrate that point, that's being able to tell stories versus 5 ways to use chia seeds.
Yes.
Right?
Yes.
Is very important, right?
Yeah, that's how we facilitate information as human beings.
Right. And so this whole week we've been talking about marketing, right? With the goal of marketing to create a change in the heart and the mind, but more importantly in the heart of the prospect, and so that your marketing communication, whether that's video, audio, podcast, it doesn't matter, moves them to that next stage in their awareness, so that by the time they get to a sales call, they're pre-sold.
Yes.
That's the point of your marketing. And the best way to do that is through story that has an intentioned emotion.
Yes.
Right? An intentioned emotion.
Yes. So it's not so much like think of a story and then tell it. It's what emotion do I need them to feel right now?
Right.
What story can I tell to elicit that emotion? It's planned. It's not accidental.
Right. And so if we think about the stages, so they come upon you, right? They've come upon you at first instance. Instead of having an about me page that reads like, a professional resume, tell them a story, tell them your story of why you chose this as a profession. And you can weave in the schools that you went to, but you're telling them the story. Literally, I chose this because this is what happened to me and it motivated me to go to this school and get this certificate. Like, you're telling them their interest. They're like, oh, that's really cool.
Interesting.
Like, oh, that's interesting. Like, you did that. That's interesting. Like, I have that same problem and you turned it into a career. Like, can you help me? Right? So think about it from their stages of awareness, right? So they come upon you and you give them your introductory story, right? And then what's the next sort of stage of awareness? You have to acknowledge their symptoms, right? You have to acknowledge their symptoms. So what stories could you tell that would help them to feel validated, like you understand their symptoms, but also open up their mind to wanting to know why they have the symptoms? What's the next stage of awareness? Right? What stories can you tell them that are like, yeah, I had this symptom, I was constantly feeling like my intestines were being twisted every time I went to this restaurant and had this specific dessert, and you could describe what the dessert is and describe the restaurant, right? And then it felt like my intestines were twisted, and I went to the doctor and the doctor was like, here, take this prescription, and that didn't feel good to you. And so you started to do this research and you discovered that maybe you had this thing called IBS. And now you're opening up their mind to, yeah, I also have IBS. Do you know anything about it? Like, what did you find out about IBS that I don't know? Right? And so you move them to that next phase of, well, what do you know about IBS? And so then now they're more open and receptive to hearing about what you know about IBS, but you didn't get them there because you were like, do you have these symptoms? You have IBS and here's what you do, because there's nothing there to relate to?
Ooh, do you know what I just thought of, which I think is so cool? So there's this saying in sales, and it's such a very, very, very good deep point. If you say it, it's a lie. If they say it, it's the truth. So what stories really do, which is actually so cool when you think about it, is they demonstrate this for you. So instead of you telling them information through a story, you're allowing them to assimilate it themselves and come to the conclusion themselves. Therefore, they are the ones saying it to themselves, making it true and increasing belief by like 100-fold. Whereas if you just told them the information, they're like, no, that's not true. No, my doctor didn't say that. Nope, doesn't feel right.
And
Right?
and to add on to that point, what happens in your life? Just think about, okay, so you went to a restaurant and you had a bad experience, and you're telling your friend or a complete and utter stranger, doesn't even matter, about your bad experience. What is their response? Oh my God, I had a similar experience and I went to this restaurant and and now they're telling you their story. So when you tell your story about your twisted intestines and how that felt, they're going to come back at you and be like, yes, oh my God, when I went to this restaurant and I found that whenever I eat yogurt, this happens to me. And now all of a sudden they're saying it back to you, which makes it true.
Yep. It's a truth to them, which is huge.
Right? Versus you putting up a post about symptoms. What are they going to respond to? Right? We talked about engagement. You're not giving them any opportunity to engage except for thanks for that. That's helpful. Like, right? So when you tell a story about an experience based on their level of awareness, because there's different stages, then they're going to come back at you with, oh my God, you're telling my story and this is what happened to me. And now you're in a conversation.
Yep.
Right? And now you're in a conversation. Do you make every post a story? Yes and no. Yes and no. So yes, to some degree, but there's sort of, and this is where the nuance comes in, and this is where like practicing becomes really, really important, because there's ways to tell stories using the first person, using the third person, using somebody else's experience, doing it in a very authoritative way versus a storytelling way, right? Using case studies to tell the story. Like there's different ways, but the format is the same.
Yeah.
Right?
It's always a story of some way, shape, or form.
Yeah. And it's always based on these questions. What is the level of awareness that the person has right now? What am I going to say to them to get them to relate? And what's the feeling I want them to have?
Yeah.
Right? And what's the next step that they need to take?
Yes.
Right? So when you think about your prospect to client journey, the goal of marketing is to get them through the journey, right? Is to journey them, is to literally put them on the train and take them from point A to point B. The first destination is the sales call. Like that's the first major destination, right? And so they jump on your train at the point of first contact, and they have to pass these like stops along the way in order to get to their final destination. And that's what marketing does. Yep. And so you need to understand what those stops are on your ideal client's destination and create content that moves them to the next stop on their destination until they arrive at the sales call with you, having had the best freaking journey ever and being like, I'm here, let's party.
Let's go.
Right? Let's go. Yep. And so that's what good marketing does. And so the best way to keep them attracted to you, the best way to keep their attention, the best way to keep them engaged, the best way for them to like you is by thinking through, okay, if they're in this phase where like, okay, now they know me and now they know the story and like, you know, now they understand who I am and we've met, you know, how do I get them to understand that their symptoms isn't the actual problem? But it is according to them, right? Yep. Their symptom, according to them, the fact that they have constipation, to them, that's the
Mhm.
problem that they are going to pay to get rid of.
Yes.
So how do we make the connection between them having constipation and you doing a gut healing program? Because they're like, well, I just need my constipation to go away. And you're like, yeah, but your gut's messed up because of stress,
Yep.
because of environmental toxins, because of whatever, because you've been eating a standard American diet, because you're on these medications for whatever reason.
Yeah.
Right. And so the job of marketing is then to say, okay, you have constipation. Let me tell you some stories about constipation. Let me tell you how uncomfortable constipation is and how I understand where you're at. And let me tell you a story about how I uncovered why I was constipated in the first place. Instead of you informing them via boring, instructional, information-based content. Let me tell you about how I got rid of my constipation. Would you like to know?
Yeah.
Let me tell you. Well, I first started because I was so constipated. It was like I had a fid baby and I didn't take a shit for 7 days. And that was just ridiculous. And I didn't want to have sex with my husband, because I just felt so gross and it was so painful and this and that and the other thing. And then one day I realized Google might have an answer for me. So I Googled and you're literally telling them the story.
Yep.
And they're like, really? Oh, okay, cool. And they're engaged with you.
Yeah.
Right?
I did
and
that.
Then
I felt that.
I felt that. I also too don't want to have sex with my husband because I'm constipated.
It's
right?
normal. Oh,
right.
Okay. Other people feel like this. That means there's a way to fix it.
Right. So, right. And then you're like, and I discovered that it could be first stage of awareness, could be foods that I was eating. I thought I was eating healthy. I was following the guidelines. I thought I was eating healthy. I thought that having whole wheat bread and oatmeal for breakfast and a salad with low fat dressing, I thought I was doing a good job. But what I discovered is that in order for me to actually have quality bowel movements, I needed this and this and this and this. And nobody freaking told me. And then I got pissed because for so many years I was eating fucking all brand and I thought that was healthy.
Yeah.
See the difference?
That's
right?
Emotion.
There's
that
a
is
difference
emotion.
there. And they're like, oh my God, I eat all brand too. Oh my God, I also take Metamucil. Really? It's not good for me. And you're injecting or embedding education into the story. You're educating them on why Metamucil is not helpful to alleviate constipation through your own discovery, through your own story, through your own experience of it, versus 5 reasons why Metamucil is not good.
Yep.
Right?
Yep.
Terrell saying never had a class like this in college. Yeah, I have both a finance and accounting degrees. Yeah. Right? Because we were all taught to be professional. We were all taught to show up and we are all very book smart.
Yes.
All of us. You know how to transform clients' lives. It's not that you're not smart enough. It's not that you're not capable enough, but you were never taught how to market in a way that can actually create change for somebody. And go ahead.
I was just going to say, and I think a big part of it is that we're coming from a system that for so long was allopathic, right? And our society is just so entrenched that something goes wrong, you go to the doctor. You have a problem, you go to the doctor. The means to advertise from an allopathic point of view are not the same because society has been so entrenched with something happens, go to the doctor. Mm-hmm. Doctors don't have to advertise in the same way. All they have to do is say, hi, I'm a doctor of urology. Oh, cool. I have a problem peeing. I go to the doctor. Whereas our alternative bubble has been modeling that. And we have all of this smarts and all of these ways to help people and fix people. And we think if we just do the same thing and hang the shingle and are like, hi, I fix so-and-so, people will just know that they have to come see you. But it's not. We actually have to take a business lesson on advertising.
And the big reason is because you deliver a transformation. That's the difference. And so when people go to a doctor, or with all due respect, even naturopaths or chiros, right? They're still, I mean, I know that they're not allopathic per se, but it's very transactional.
Yes.
It's not transformational. It's very transactional, the old way. We work with naturopaths and we help them create, and all sort of licensed professionals create a transformational outcome for their patients. But the old way of running both an allopathic and alternative health business is still transactional. I'm going to pay the naturopath $150. I'm going to go to you because I have hot flashes. You're going to run tests. You're going to prescribe me supplements.
Yep.
And I'm going to get better. No, that doesn't happen.
Nope.
Right? So even in alternative health, the way that the model was set up is not transformational. It's very transactional, and it's not working. And it's not working. I mean, think about it. I know I've been to many naturopaths because they're all transactional.
Yeah.
And they didn't provide that sort of ongoing care that creates a lasting transformation, right? And so in order to get people to that state where they're past the, well, can you just give me a pain pill or a prescription? Because that's what they're used to. Yes. In order to get people past that state, which is a very low level sort of consciousness state, we have to market to them in a way to bring them to a higher level of awareness and understanding before they get to a call with you. Otherwise, they're going to throw the money objection at you. Always, because they're not used to it. And so even though alternative health has been growing, obviously, so much, those people that are successful have the ability to create change and pre-sell because of their marketing before they even get to the call.
Yep.
And that's where stories come in, right? And that's where understanding the prospect to client journey comes in. That's where marketing in the new way and making these shifts come in, because your job is to get them to a new level of understanding before they get to the sales call with you, so that they're not showing up to the sales call being like, oh, I didn't know I had this problem, and I thought you were just going to give me some tips.
Yes. I just need to know X, and then I can do it on my own.
Exactly. And that's a very old way of thinking. It's very transactional and it's very commodity based, which is what allopathic medicine is based on. Yep. I go in, I tell you my symptoms, you hand me a prescription, we're done. I'm not fixed. I'm just Band-Aided. And that's not what we do. We transform, we fix, we take them from being this one person and transform them to being this person. And we actually look at root cause and help and give them tools and strategies. That's not what medicine does. And so you can't market the way that medicine works, because that's not what we're doing here. And that's why you need to learn marketing the way that we're teaching it. And you should want to.
Yes.
Right? We don't want a Band-Aid fix. You want a transformation, right? It's like we made t-shirts for our clients back in the day that says, I transform health for a living. You are the deliverers of transformation. You are the leader in transformation. You are not somebody who just gives a quick fix Band-Aid solution. And in order to deliver transformation, part of it is getting them to a new level of awareness before they get on a sales call with you. And the only thing that can do that is good, effective marketing. So that's our story for today. I'll use another Yiddish word. That's our spiel for today.
Oh, I can say that one. That is our spiel.
Yes, that's our spiel for today. We hope that this is helpful. If you want to leave some comments for us, that would be amazing.
Yeah.
Give us some feedback in terms of, your takeaways, your aha moments. Like it's nice for us to see that we're having some level of impact in your ability to do this business thing better.
Yes.
So feel free, if you're on Instagram, PM me with your ahas and the things, your big takeaways, and how you're going to actually implement the strategies that we're giving you into your business. And on Facebook, you can just put it into the comments. We would love to hear it. Feedback is always really nice. And,
Yeah.
we'll be back again on Monday. Next week, we're going to sort of switch gears a little bit, do some mindset stuff. If you want help with your marketing, you can go to thewbh.com/breakthrough, book a call. You can chat with us. We will walk you through how we're able to help you and teach you while you grow your business. That's what we do. So thanks for tuning in.
Happy Friday.
Happy Friday. Have a good weekend, everybody. Bye.